Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Okay, we're covering tips and advice, things that's going to make your hijrah simpler to plan, and things you need to know before you get there. One thing that we're going to cover in this video is the misunderstanding that you can operate a motor vehicle or drive a vehicle on your American or foreign driver's license. This is not true. This is not true. You have to have a license in the country that you're going in. It used to be true. It used to be true that if you had an American license, as long as the American license was valid, that you could drive on that American license unofficially. And if you got stopped, they would just kind of wave you through, okay, go ahead, but you need to make sure you get a license. They're not doing that anymore. And with the clamp down on the amount of foreigners and you know, the move that the countries are moving toward for localized, you know, more caring for their citizens and for the local people, there's certain behaviors that just not going to be tolerated. So if you have a license, what you can do is you can take that license, as long as it's not expired, you can take that license down to the Ministry of Transportation. I believe that's what it's called. Yeah, the Ministry of Transportation, or whoever does the driver's licenses in your area, whatever serves as the DMV in your area, in that country where you went to, and you can apply for a driver's license without having to take, without having to run through the process as if this is the first time you ever had a license. Okay, so you'll do that and you'll just transfer the license. I believe in Bahrain it costs 37 dinar. 37 dinar, which is somewhere around $75, $80 to transfer it. The Bahrain license, last I checked, was good for 5 years. The Kuwaiti license, I don't remember how much I paid for, but the Kuwaiti license is good for 10 years. 10 years. Okay. Now, in the Gulf countries, if you have a license from another Gulf country in the GGC or the GCC, you can drive anywhere. So I drove I had a Kuwaiti license, but I was driving in Saudi on my Kuwaiti license. I was driving in Bahrain on my Kuwaiti license. So as long as you're within the Gulf countries, you can drive there because they're all connected. Okay. But you can't, what was the thing that you can't do? Oh, there was, I don't know where people come up with these things. Someone I heard a long time ago, someone says, oh, you can drive on your American passport. I don't doubt that might have been true, but it's definitely not true now. Okay. You can't drive on it. You can't buy a car with that American driver's or with your American passport, and you cannot rent a vehicle. You have to have your the license of that country, or if you're in the GCC in the Gulf countries, you have to have a GCC license or license from one of the GCC countries. Okay, and then you can rent a car. You can't rent a car with your passport. Your passport is an identification document, and that is all. It's an identification document. You can't do anything else. Now, if you're renting cars, you can rent a car locally. You got the right license, okay? You can rent a car, but you can't take that car out of the country. So, for example, a lot of people, the locals can do it, but you as a foreigner, you can't do that unless you get permission from the owner of the car. Because when you get there to the border and they want to see all your papers, they're going to ask you for the registration of the vehicle. And the registration of the vehicle and the identification you gave them for yourself, they don't match. Okay, well, whose vehicle is this? It's Abdullah Khalid's vehicle. Okay, well, Abu Idris, do you have permission from Abdullah Khalid to take this vehicle from Saudi Arabia into Bahrain? I mean, he told me it's okay, you know, he's my friend, da, 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 da. But did he give you written permission? Because that's what you're going to need. written permission that authorizes you to take the car from this side of the border to the other side of the border. Okay. So if you don't have that, they're going to turn you away at the border until you turn around and go back. They're not going to let you go. You're not going to slide through. They're not going to miss anything. These guys are very, very, very meticulous at this border. Let's try again. Very meticulous at the border. And so, because you talk about letting someone access in another country, in your country. So your driver's license has to be a GCC driver's license. It cannot be the country that your license is in. And if you get stopped, you're going to find yourself in some trouble. How did you get a car? How are you riding around in this country with a license from another country? That would be like if I'm in America and somebody comes with a license from France. The driving system is not the same in France as it is in America. And that's the reason why you can't drive on that license. You still, even if you exchange your license over from American to Saudi or to Kuwait or whatever, you still have to take a test, a driving test, to make sure you understand the rules of the road in that country. In that country. Okay, because it might be different, and it is different. It is different. Okay, there are certain signs and certain road markings that mean something different in those countries than it does in your home country, and you have to know that, and they have to know you know it. You're still going to have to take a driving test to prove that you know how to drive and how to parallel park and all that other stuff. You still got to take the written test. So it's like, it's the same process, but it's just easier. You don't have to go through a driving school where somebody has to log in that you drove with them 2 hours a day for the last 28 days or something like that. You don't have to go through that scenario, but you do have to do everything else that will be connected to obtain a driver's license, including your photo IDs. Okay. So we mentioned before in terms of documents, if you're in the GCC countries, the majority of the GCC countries will take the passport photo that's accepted is a 2x2 passport photo with a white background, except for Kuwait. Kuwait requires a blue background, So if you come with a white background in Kuwait to use for identification purposes, they're going to tell you, no, we don't accept that. We only accept the ones with a blue, like this blue background. Okay. And vice versa if you go with a blue versus a white. Okay. The other problem is sometimes people will say, well, you don't need to go and get a passport photo from the studio, they call it, the photography studio. You could just take a selfie. Okay, you take a selfie and that'll work. It won't, because sometimes the camera is switched around, right? So you're looking like right now, if you're looking at me, your left is actually my right. Okay, and I did that because my shirt would be flipped around backwards if I didn't do that. Okay, so if you have something on some distinguishing mark, like I got a little bit of gray hair here, it's on in reality, in real life, this is on my right side. But as you're looking at it on my picture, it shows it's on the left as you're looking at it. It can become a little convoluted. So that doesn't always work, and it's not always acceptable. And where are you going to get the blue background? You know what I mean? Where are you going to get the blue background? So it has to be from a photographer who is going to take the picture for you. Make sure you keep the negatives with you. That way that you can just give them the negative and they can just process the negative, and it's half the price. Okay. So just to clarify that, you cannot drive in another country on your country's driver's license. You can transfer it as long as it's not expired. Okay. And then go through the process without having to go through a driver's school. You cannot rent a car with your American or your license from your country, because the rules of the road are different in the country you're in as opposed to where you come from. No one's going to turn you loose on a vehicle like that, because this is an investment for him. And so he's going to put you behind the wheel knowing that you don't know all the rules of the road because you don't have a license from that country. Okay. You cannot drive on your passport. Your passport is an identification document that also contains documentation that you are allowed to stay in the country legally, i.e. visas, stamped or pasted or otherwise. It's not for operating a motor vehicle. Okay, so I don't know if people are still saying that, understand that that's incorrect. That is incorrect. Okay, so that's all. This is a very short video. Understanding certain things that you can do and can't do, and trying to, disperse, common myths and misunderstandings and sayings that people do, because we narrate a lot of stuff. Somebody told me this, and I had a friend, he did this and this and this, and he told me it's okay, and and that might have been true a very long time ago, but certainly not now. And you don't want to go on some secondhand advice and then wind up getting yourself in a problem, should you get stopped by law enforcement. So that's it, you guys. That's all I have for the video, for this video. Please like and subscribe to the video, hit the bell for the notifications, and share this to those who would benefit. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.